Leaders without education create bad habits. Follow me. Let's go. Welcome to another episode of the Leaders Lounge Live podcast. Today I'm here with Brian Rood. He's with MediaCom Business, and you know, we're going to have a really cool conversation today. You know, the main reason that he decided to come on here is because he thought the idea of doing a podcast was cool. But the reason that I wanted him to be here as a guest is because, you know, we're both in Kiwanis, and I heard his backstory. I was like, wow, just an amazing human being. So today we're going to talk about success mindset, because I feel like in our own realms we're both successful, and we both overcome challenges, and we definitely have different paths, and you'll hear a little bit about that as we start talking. But enough of me yapping my mouth. Brian, do you want to introduce yourself to the podcast?
Absolutely, JJ. Thank you. Yes, I'm Brian Rood. I'm with MediaCom Business. I've been with the company now for about a year, but I've been in internet sales for about 3 years now. Previously, I worked for a company called Infinity in Cedar Rapids, where I actually worked for a third party. I actually worked as a third party sales person, where I worked for Frontier Communications and sold internet services for them over the phone. And most of my clients were in Texas, Florida, California, and I really loved what I did. I loved talking to people, loved helping them out, delving into their needs as far as, helping their business succeed, finding out what makes them tick, what I could do to help them out and make them more successful. The one element that was missing, though, was that face-to-face, communication. I really love to talk to someone, to sit down with them face-to-face. I think it's a much better platform. It can really get to know the person on a more intimate level, and really delve in and find out, what their true needs are, and try to really offer them the products or services, whatever it may be, that are really going to help them succeed in their business, help their business grow, and whatever I can do to help out is absolutely wonderful.
Excellent. And, it takes a lot of courage to go out there, even though you like the personal aspect of it being face-to-face. Sometimes it's also the most uncomfortable part, because eventually if your preferred way is face-to-face, you also have to, eventually get to the question and offer them the services that you provide. And so I applaud you for that, because that's a lot of people would rather do it online, just because, they don't have to leave their home. They don't have to interact with somebody in the same way. It's a little bit more hands off, but so good on you. I like doing it both ways. I think however I can meet as many people as I possibly can, I do it. Mm-hmm. So whatever that
the main reason why I chose to do that with Infinity in the first place was I felt like my couple of it. My background is mostly in banking, mortgage lending. Over the years, I did a lot of those types of activities. I never felt like I had developed really strong over the phone sales skills. The phone skills that are required to really engage your clients. To get them to move things on to the next level, to get the appointment, to get to be able to get in the door, to be able to make that sale. So I would say Infinity helped me tremendously in that regard, to be able to develop those skills. We're constantly listening to our conversations over the phone, analyzing, how are we, how is our tone, and our speed of speech and all that kind of stuff. So it really helped me to develop those skills that I really felt I needed to help me move on to the next level of my career.
But at the end of the day, you should do what you're best at, and you should do what you're most comfortable with, because at the end of the day, we have to like what we're doing.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, it's not worth doing, to be quite honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
So success mindset. When I think of a success mindset, well, first of all, success means something differently success means something different to every person that's out there.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they're happy that with, just having a family, making ends meet, and just, punching a clock and going through the day with no extra hours or anything like that, with just as much time person to person as possible. Some people aren't happy with that. Some people want to go to the next level, and they think success is monetary, and they will work until their nose bleeds to make sure that happens. Some people, they have to have balance, so maybe both. Others, they think that they need to have independence in what they do, and so starting their own business is one way to go about it. Or maybe they feel like they have a problem to solve and they won't be successful until they do. So when I think of a success mindset, a lot of people don't take action with the one thing that they want, and they feel trapped. And, when it really comes down to it, that's not fair to do to yourself. If you feel like there's something that you would be happy doing, you can find a way to do it. And the only thing that's keeping you from doing that thing is that it's not usually monetary. It's not usually, anything other than you holding yourself back. And for you to make that move the way you did to MediaCom from Infinity, because you found what you wanted to do and you just went for it. I'm sure the story wasn't quite that easy. Never is. But,
not really, no.
But I really feel like that's what success is all about. I mean, if you, I'll just use you as an example. If you like internet sales or telecommunication or whatever you want to call it, I mean, there are a bunch of different things that MediaCom offers. But if you enjoy that, you enjoy working with businesses, and you want to do it in a way where you're face-to-face, going out into the economy and meeting as many people as you possibly can that have businesses and making that happen for them, and then you're doing it, that's success. But I'm interested to hear a little bit of your story as to maybe when you were still at Infinity and you were getting ready to make that transition, or maybe you were considering making that transition and looking around, and at what point did you finally push that button? Or maybe what are some objections that kept you from doing it when you wanted to, and maybe you waited a while?
It's a good question. I think that, for me, it was a personal growth development for me. And what I saw myself doing over the last 2 years when I worked at Infinity was that, like I said before, I was trying to develop some of those over the phone skills that would really help me to be able to engage the customer, without seeing them face to face. And I knew if I could get over that point in my life, that hurdle, I guess, that I knew that the face to face thing was so much easier. I think, and I had certain goals in my mind that said, I want to reach a certain level of sales and, things like that. Not so much monetarily, but personal goals as far as numbers of sales, that I could achieve. And I ended up, it was 3 months in a row where I was top salesman at the organization on our team. And, at that point I realized, I've achieved a lot here, accomplished so much here. And now I think it's time just to move on to the next level. So it was after I had made those jumps, got to the point where I was, top salesperson for 3 months in a row there. It was just time to move on and go to the next level, and knowing that I was ready and, ready to jump on to the next train, I guess, so to speak. But it's been a great ride, and I love what I do now. The thing I love about, internet sales, more than just the products I sell, I know that it's something that every business needs, and it's something that as time goes on, it's going to become more and more of a necessity. And as you know, with AI and other advancements in technology, it's just going to be a huge need for that. But the most important thing I say, I was speaking to a gal the other day about this. I said, ever since I've been in sales, the one thing that you talk about success, how I measure success is just how it just the feeling I get when somebody chooses me, picks me to serve their needs over anybody else out there. It's a humbling feeling. It's a feeling of pride. It's a feeling of just, I'm just so grateful that they chose me to put their trust in me to serve their needs and to provide the solutions that they're looking for.
Mm. Mm. Wow, that's actually pretty amazing. When you have the mindset to serve, that's what happens. And I talk about servant leadership a lot. And I know when we meet,
for sure, yeah,
when we meet one-on-one, those are the conversations that we've had too. It's just kind of my passion. I think it's important for us it doesn't matter what we do, if we focus on how what we do can help other people, whether it's in a MediaCom business, or if it's me serving in my own private business, or maybe in the past when I worked for other companies, or serving in the military. The one thing that I feel like made all of those things successful, and based off of what you just got done saying, it's the same with you, is that I always think about what I can be doing to make somebody else's life easier throughout the course of my day-to-day workings.
Yes.
And
exactly.
When I did that, I'll be honest with you, I'm not tooting my own horn. I'm just not. I never thought of myself as the most intelligent person in the room. I never thought of myself as some sort of a high achiever or anything like that. But I truly believe, looking back, that was the reason why I made rank so fast. That was the reason why I climbed as high as I did. And then, even in my civilian roles, I received a lot of high praise. And the reason that was because I wasn't really in it for me. When I was a safety manager, I was always looking at these drivers, figuring out what I could do to keep them from getting hurt and make their life easier. When I worked at Lowe's, I had actually a fairly large team. It was 14 people. And when I had that team, I was always looking at everything we were doing day to day and figuring out how I could make their life better, how I could streamline things to make it so that maybe their job wouldn't necessarily be enjoyable, but their experience in their interactions with other people, make that more enjoyable. And then the same, I'm not going to mention the other job because I'm not a big fan of that company, but I also received high praise there because I was really bringing people together because I saw issues that were going on that I thought I could bring change to. And it wasn't for me. It was for the welfare of the people that worked under my charge. And, I didn't do anything outside of the ordinary that any other good person would want to do, but I didn't think about me and how it affected me. I thought about how it affected them. And so recipe for success, if it doesn't matter what your goals are, how you measure success, if it's with your family or if it's at work or it's, constantly hustling to figure out another way to make a few bucks so that you can have as much money as you possibly can. If you look at how you can help another person, you're going to do that.
The great thing about sales too is that, as you talked about before, it doesn't require intelligence so much. For me, it's about passion. It's much more about the passion. You're putting your heart and soul into it. Dave Ramsey always says, have the heart of a teacher. To be successful, that's what it takes. That caring mentality, putting your heart and soul into it is so much more important than the whatever IQ you have or whatever knowledge you have. So I really work at trying to do that and show my customers how much I care about them. Not only finding them the best, the best products and services to give them, but also going out of my way to, on top of that, trying to develop and think of new ideas to help their business succeed. You've probably seen some of my, business spotlights that I do on Facebook and Instagram and or in LinkedIn for different customers. Those I'm just always trying to think of new ideas of ways that can help other businesses, promote themselves as well. So it's awesome. I love what I do.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. That's one of that's like number two of the reasons that I do these podcasts. I could easily do them by myself, but when I bring other people on, I mean, if you're watching this on Spotify or YouTube or whatever the case may be, you'll see that I have not my information scrolling across the bottom, but every single podcast that I do, I have my guests' information scrolling across the bottom because, you're going to hear me talk all the time. That's a constant. But having a guest on, it also gives me the ability to showcase their natural skills and abilities that they have along with the services that they offer if they're their private business owner or they're in sales representing another business, and give them opportunities for now the small audience that I have, but eventually that'll grow. And that's really what it's all about. I agree with you. I think that it's wonderful to showcase other people. I mean, just listening to this, people will probably hear the name Brian Rood if they're local over here in the Cedar Rapids, Iowa City, North Liberty area, and they're going to be like, dang, I think I saw something on LinkedIn or Spotify or something about that Brian Rood guy. And then they'll Google you and they'll find you. They'll watch this video and they'll be like, oh my gosh, maybe I need to reach out to him. That's just kind of the way it all works.
Great. Yeah.
And then hopefully more people watch this podcast, but that's not what it's all about. But I think having the heart to serve is really how it's done. Mm-hmm. Now, in your opinion, since you're in sales and I'm in sales, other than just having the heart to make sure that these people are getting what they need, what are some of the things that you do mindset wise to give you the confidence to go out there and tackle it all the time?
Oh boy, that's a good question. It's every week's kind of a challenge too. Sometimes, I mean, it's never easy for me to go out and knock on doors and make those connections. Even though I love doing it, it's just there's always that element of hesitation in doing it. So I think preparation is the key to that. And like I said before, I always try to take my Sunday evening before the week starts, kind of lay out a plan of attack for the week coming up. So I know come Monday morning, I got these places to see and these appointments and those kinds of things. So it's kind of laid out in advance to a certain degree, so I know what I'm doing, and it's kind of it's a little organized, as opposed to just kind of jump out there and hope it don't sink, So that really helps me a lot. It helps take away some of the nervousness or hesitation and getting out there and seeing people. It's funny because I don't know why we all have that hesitation or, and doing that, because when I get out there, I love, those connections I make, and the conversations I have with people are usually very good. So, but it's just one of those things we just kind of always have to kind of deal with.
It's funny. I never thought of myself as a salesperson, but having my own business, I kind of have to be, by nature. Yeah. But, conversation, I do the same thing, and it's really hard for me too. But, the thing that I tell myself before I go out and have one of these conversations is, well, it's either going to go, it's either going to go one of three ways. They're going to tell me to buzz off. They're going to have a conversation with me about it, and they'll either be interested or not, they'll talk to me about it, or they'll be interested and they'll either buy on the spot or they'll want to have another conversation with me, which to me is a win too, because I get, I think the follow-on conversations are how you really get to know people. And a sale is not always my win. Sometimes a win is talking to somebody, getting them interested in me becoming interested in them, and then having 3 or 4 conversations with them and more people that they refer me to as a result of it. I think that's a win, you know, and you're right. It's almost like social media. It spreads like wildfire. If somebody likes you, but they don't really want the Kool-Aid that you're serving, then they'll be like, well, maybe Joe, Jeff, and John will want it. I'll make some email introductions for you. And before you know it, your schedule's full.
Right. And those sometimes those appointments don't go as well as planned, or those meetings don't go as well as planned. But you never know, if you just make the connection and do it in a positive way, you never know where it might result. I mean, I just watched a training video recently here where the guy is talking about how the whole focus was on obtaining as many no's as possible. I think he said, for every like 45, visits, I want to get like 22 no's out of it. It's my goal. And make it a game, make it fun. Don't go home until you have so many no's. But again, those connections, even though they maybe result in a no now, follow up down the road and build that relationship. Yeah. When they see how much you care, it's gonna make a huge difference in the long run.
True.
So that's what I try to do is just not take that no as a door's closed, but there's a little crack of that door still open. So I could maybe down the road here, open up a little more there, see if I can get in this time. Never give up on those things.
What you said at the very beginning of that in that training video kind of stuck with me, because I don't think anybody goes out there and they're like, I have to have this many no's before I go home today.
Makes it fun,
I guess it kind of would. But on the other side of that, I mean, how did we learn how to walk? How did we learn how to talk? We had plenty of times where we fell on our rear end or, skinned some knees or what have you before we could get up and start wobbling. And then we had to wobble for a while before we could go out there and start sprinting or what have you. So yeah, it's important to understand that our successes come from our failures, because that's where we learn.
My nephew right now is learning to walk, and he'll get up, he'll get up, he'll fall down, he'll get up, he'll fall. And you never see the child like that, any frustration. They're determined. They fall on their bottom, they get up again, and it happens over and over again. But they never lose sight of that, And then eventually they walk, So if we can just keep that to the back of our heads, that's the mindset we need to have. We're gonna fall sometimes. Get back up, keep doing it over and over again, and eventually things are gonna work out.
And isn't that a great message for anybody who has any goal out there that is just sitting to themselves saying, I got to have the right amount of money to go on that vacation, or, I just need to stay at this job for a little bit longer before I start my own business, or, any objection that you build, by the way, in your own mind, how are you going to know how well you will do with that thing, or even if you can do it at all, unless you take one step forward, fall, get back up, and then keep on moving forward, and until you doggone start walking, because otherwise you're just going to be laughing at yourself the whole time, because you keep on falling on your butt, which is what kids do. It's funny, you watch them and they fall down. As adults, we go, shoot, that hurt. But kids, when they do it, they're like, ha ha ha, and they get back up and they start running right along. So it's really all up here. And I think that's probably what you just got done saying is probably the most important message that kind of came out of this whole podcast is that when you know that something needs to be done to achieve a desired outcome, in your case, sales, every week you do the planning and preparation, probably the mindset shifts even before your week even starts, then you also, I also give myself permission to make mistakes. You make it a game and go out there and get as many no's as you possibly can. However you do that, to make sure that you actually take that step forward to give yourself an opportunity to fail or succeed, then you'll never know. So
very true.
Well, I think it has been an absolute pleasure having you on the podcast today.
Yeah, thank you.
We have just a couple minutes left, so I have to ask you, other than that amazing message that you just put out there into the world, is there anything that you would like to say to my audience about you, or maybe a special message of any kind before we completely conclude for the day?
Oh boy. I would say, I guess my biggest message I could give people is to go out there and make every day your best day. You talk about success. I think I've heard success sometimes measured as, making someone's day a little brighter, bringing a smile to someone's face. Try to do those kinds of things. And we are going through, good times, difficult times. At times you don't know what anybody's going through. You may come across, in a given day, and just try to make everybody's day a little brighter if you can. Just keep a positive attitude and just go through each day as it's a whole new opportunity. And God gives us every day is given to us. It's not guaranteed, and we should make the best of every day we have.
I saw, and it's not in a prayer book or anything like that, but what you just said kind of solidified with me, because I have an affirmation that I say to myself every morning. Of all places, I got it off of Facebook, but it says, my affirmation says that if God wakes me up to see another day, I'm going to try to be a better person than I was yesterday. And everything that you just got done saying, it's that. Be a good person.
Very good way of putting it. Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not going to make you, it's not going to hurt you to be kind. And so be kind to as many, even if you don't agree with the way that person looks or thinks, or the way they walk, or the clothes that they're wearing, anything like that, be kind. Like Brian said, you never know what's going through their mind. You might be the person that turns their whole life around just because you made them smile.
For sure.
And, if you're in the business world, it doesn't hurt either, because if you're kind to everybody, for people who may not believe in the Lord or all those other things, being kind will give you a good word. When people see you in public, they're going to be like, oh man, Brian is just an amazing individual. You should go talk to that guy. And that will help you. It doesn't hurt you to be kind. But
very good. Amen.
Yes. Amen is right. Brian, once again, I really appreciate you being my guest. Anyone who's listening to my podcast, Brian, his contact information is at the bottom, but otherwise you can look him up. His name is Brian Rood on Facebook, LinkedIn, the whole 9 yards. He's definitely worth talking to, and not just listening to or watching on my podcast. You should meet him if you can. Thank you everyone for watching. If you did, otherwise, keep on trucking. And today we talked about success mindset. So don't let your objections stop you. Go keep kicking butt in the world. Thank you.